You're watching CBS 42 College Football Saturday Postgame, presented by Pepsi.
Mullis for the tie. Kick is on the way, and it hit the upright. It's no good.
What is the worst possible scenario you could ever imagine as an Alabama football fan? Kicking a field goal at the end of a game when it means something. No good from Joseph Bulbus from 30 yards out, and Alabama falls to Auburn 48-45. It is a dream scenario if you're an Auburn Tiger fan, and Toomer's Corner is on fire tonight. Welcome into our post-game show, Chris Brees and Mike Johnson. I'm really glad we have up until 8 o'clock, Mike, because, man, we have a lot to dissect. You could have said this was the play of the game. You could have said this was the play of the game. Lo and behold, Auburn did just enough at the end, despite all the Alabama penalties and mistakes, to get the game in their favor.
It was an absolute slugfest, and one of the more incredible games I've actually had the pleasure of witnessing in person. And you watch it go back and forth. For every play that Alabama made, Auburn's defense makes a play, or Bo Nix makes a play with his legs. They really go back and forth the entire game, but in the end, Alabama really cost itself a shot at victory with the number of penalties and the turnovers. We talked about it all pregame. Mac Jones cannot throw interceptions. That's exactly what he went out and did. Not two problems that Mac Jones really had today, but they were monumental when you look at the outcome of the football game.
Well, you're looking at a 21-point swing for Auburn on those two picks. One was in the end zone. That's 14 points right there. The other one was 7. That makes 21. That was the big difference for Alabama. 13 penalties is what doomed this team. Of course, they had that offsides at the end. That was the nail in the coffin. I'd call it really ironic, by the way.
Yeah, I think it was ironic all the way around, because really the crowd noise, and credit to Auburn fans, played an incredibly huge factor in this football game. When you look at the offensive line, Jedrick Wills and Landon Dickerson looked like they would come to blows at one point for Alabama's offensive line, and really that was the entire game. It was mistake after mistake, 13 penalties today for Alabama. The missed field goal just kind of caps off really the theme of the game if you're Nick Saban, that there was too many small errors along the way for Alabama. Give Gus Malzahn a lot of credit for the way he coached his football team and their attention to detail today.
Now we are awaiting Gus Malzahn's live post-game press conference. We'll bring that to you as soon as it comes up. This is 2 straight times now where Alabama and Auburn, Toomer's Corner is absolutely lit. And Gus Malzahn really needed this game for his Auburn Tigers. The way the Georgia game ended, everybody's on Gus's back. When are you going to win the big game? Well, we clearly saw his team. They may have felt overmatched at times, but good teams find ways to win and find ways to improve. And you got to think these Auburn Tigers are feeling very good about themselves going into the bowl game. As for Alabama, they have a lot of questions to answer going into their bowl game and into the next season. Gus Malzahn, again, will be with us here in a few seconds. What do you want to hear from Gus when he's coming up?
Well, I want him to take credit. And obviously, there's been a lot said about Gus Malzahn's offense this year and what Bo Nix is really capable of. I thought he played incredibly well today. I know Gus is proud.
So Gus Malzahn is live at the podium. We'll take it right now.
All right, everybody ready?
Okay, obviously a big win for us. So proud of our team. You know, when you look at this whole season, we knew it was going to be a gauntlet. We played the toughest schedule in college football. Our guys hung in there. At times it was tough. They never flinched. And, going into this game, we felt like we had the better team. And our guys, give them credit, they're a big-time team. Our guys hung in there. The first half was crazy, went back and forth. The touchdowns, they had a lot of momentum. They momentum swings with the kickoff return, and really end up being the difference in the game is the field goal right there, right before halftime with 1 second left. And then the second half, really our guys just battled. Their offensive receivers, I mean, they're special good, and their defense is really good too. We hung in there, found a way to win at the end. Just an electric environment, so thankful for our fans. I mean, this is the best atmosphere in college football. They proved it again. I think they had numerous penalties because of the noise, and they were the 12th man. But our seniors, we talked about leaving a legacy for those guys, and they left a great memory for them, something they can hold on the rest of their lives with the Auburn family. And then we got a chance to win 10 games, and that's a really good accomplishment, and especially with the schedule that we played. And just real proud of the guys in the locker room. Our young quarterback battled. He protected the football. That was his first Iron Bowl, and he gets a victory at home. Our defense had 2 touchdowns. I mean, huge touchdowns, momentum swings. I think Smoke Monday and their linebacker returned the one 100 yards. It was just, it was really unbelievable, the swings that went back and forth. But just proud of our staff, proud of our players, and, we're going to enjoy this win. We beat an excellent team with excellent players and a really good coach. Questions?
Guys, what makes you so confident you guys could win in the fourth quarter? At halftime, you said you're going to win.
Yeah, when we played at home and we played and we get the fourth quarter, we find a way to win. And, 2013 and 17, it kind of held true to the script tonight. And so, and our crowd has a lot to do with that. And our guys believing, and our crowd willed us. And, it was a team effort. It was defense, it was offense, it was special teams. We got the penalty, at the very end right there. We put our punter on with the offense, and they had their defense, and then their punt return, and then they got 12 guys. So it was just really, it was an overall team win, and it was a big one for us.
Coach, you spoke about the kick before halftime, but as far as Carson's performance as a whole, 4-for-4, also the one that he didn't count.
Yeah, how about that? I mean, I took 3 points off the board in the Iron Bowl, and then he comes back and he makes it. He had a big time night, and we talked all year, man. You're gonna win a game for us, and tonight he did that. And he's an excellent kicker. That'll give him a lot of confidence moving forward. But very proud of him and our field goal unit.
Yes, Boobie and Bo running game, you guys 181 rushing tonight.
Yeah, that's big against that defense. Our goal was 200. We were close. There were some tough runs. I mean, some really tough runs. Their defensive front is excellent. And their secondary is as talented as anybody we played.
Let's talk about the Shivers touchdown.
Yeah, so, we went Wildcat, and, Schwartz, he got hurt the first play of the game, and we didn't have him, and Eli was back and forth. Matthew Hill went out at halftime, and we were struggling with receivers. We had a couple substitution things right there before halftime. We had to burn some timeouts, but we were 4 receivers down, and so Shivers had been doing that, earlier in the year, so we just plugged him in, and he ran the guy over, knocked his helmet off, and got in the end zone. That was a huge play. I think it was 3rd down and 5, and that was a big play in the game.
Guys, we talked a lot about the offense finishing drives tonight. You guys were able to do that. What was the difference?
Yeah. Just we're getting better. I mean, we've grown, and our quarterback's grown, and we're still in the top half offensively. The problem is the 3 previous times we played top 5, top 10 teams, we hadn't put enough points on the board. But tonight, obviously there was enough points.
You ever seen a guy like Shivers that size do something like that to the field?
He's a powerful guy, and he just barely stepped out of bounds on that one, or it would have been house call, I think, So he's an electric player, and he's low to the ground, and that was a very, very powerful run.
Got for a freshman quarterback, this kind of environment, this kind of game, how hard is that to play with the basically calm?
Yeah, I've said it all along. He's got something special to him. He'll win a championship. I told you that this week before he gets out of here. His leadership, the moment's not too big. He's got real good command. When he makes a mistake, he owns up, hey, I'll make up for it. And just, he's got the special traits it has. The future's going to be a lot of fun with him leading us.
I said the only coach that's beaten Nick Saban 3 times. Does that mean anything to you?
He's a great coach. Everybody knows that. But this is Auburn, and they're Alabama. And this is the best rivalry in college football. It's not about me. It's about our players. Our players believe we can beat them. All the other teams, for the most part, hope. And, so I'm just real proud of our players. It's about our players. It's not about me.
You talked about your seniors leaving a legacy. How would you describe what that legacy is?
There's some great football players, but they're even better people. And, this day and time in college football, the highs are high and the lows are low. And it's easy to point fingers, and that's what the whole world really wants you to do. But our leadership hung in there, and they didn't flinch. And we went through some tough times. I'm real proud of our staff, too. And, it's been a up and down season, but we finished on a high note. And like I said, we got a chance to win 10 games. And that's a real special thing, here in the West and in playing the schedule that we played.
Coach, you have a few words with Coach Saban right there. You turn around and the field's being stormed. What is that moment like? And do you get to enjoy that as well over home with the fans?
Yeah, there's no doubt. It's a real special. Anytime our fans are down there with us, and of course, we've been fortunate enough the 3rd time, and it's just like, it's a wow feeling. It is. And, you know, the Auburn is the Auburn family. And this game obviously is very important. And just happy that we could get a victory for our fans. And they were just so huge. I mean, the place was going nuts the whole night. It wasn't just the fourth quarter. And just a great environment. You know, we had a lot of, you know, it was just really something to be a part of.
Gus, you probably haven't thought about this, but you've beaten Alabama both times. You've had 1 second added back to the clock before the end of a half.
Did you catch that? I didn't know if you caught that. You know, I'm not real savvy, but I just wanted to say that.
You didn't want the first one. You wanted the second one. Just how big of a moment was that for you guys to get that, and then Anders to get the snap off and then kick it?
Yeah, you know, it gave us the momentum. I mean, it wasn't just the 3 points, but it gave us the momentum at halftime. I mean, you know, the guys come in the locker room, and we were just talking about getting the fourth quarter. I mean, that's really what we talked about, and we were in the game, and, you know, our guys found a way to make some huge plays, and, you know, the 2 defensive touchdowns was huge, and we had a big punt return, you know, that was huge, and, you know, their kick returner is unbelievable, and, you know, we tried to pooch it, and we tried to kick it away, and, you know, he's just a real special player.
Gus, how big was that last defensive stand? I mean, you know, defense worn out, they get down, but you guys.
Yeah, I'm real proud of our team. I mean, 4th and 10. And then they got it, and then we hung in there, and, you know, we forced them to kick a field goal, and it hit the upright, you know, and that's the kind of things that happen, you know, when your crowd is just unbelievable. And, you know, this is a big game. There's a lot of, you know, outside pressures and variables, and just, you know, unusual things happen sometimes.
Was the last when you got the penalty at the end?
Yeah.
Was that intentional? Were you trying?
Yeah. So what we were going to do is we were going to try to keep their punt returner off the field,
right.
And so we put our punter at X, and we had our offense on the field,
right.
And they had their punt return, and then they rushed their defense on, and they forgot about their punt returner, and so that's how they had 12 guys in the field, because we were going to go ahead and shift, and we were going to have him punt it, and we were just trying to find ways to keep him off the field in that moment, and we felt like if we get the defense, we could kick it and flip the field, and, you know, they were trying to rush people on, and we got 12, and we ended up winning the game.
Has that been the playbook all season?
We've had it, you know, but this kick returner will make you do things you normally wouldn't do. And, you know, our whole goal was not to let him beat us. Of course, he house called the one. That was huge. But, you know, we were just trying to find different ways. Bo punted one. It went in the end zone. But we've been working on it all year. And then we had the punter with the offense just trying to keep their defense on there without the returner. And that was what caused all the confusion and caused 12 guys in the field. And it worked out pretty good.
Going back to that final defensive stand on that 3rd down, what's it say about Derek to be able to just get his hand up there?
That was huge. I mean, hey, you know, we talked about, you know, the 3 losses we have. I mean, there's 1 or 2 plays in all those games that could have went the other way. We had to make those ones, and that was a huge play in the game. I mean, Derek's, you know, I think he's the best defensive player in college. If there's a better one, I mean, they're pretty special. But, you know, big time players make big time plays and big time game. He did that, and that was a huge game.
Did Daniel make some adjustments on kicking? It's the best I've seen him kick.
Yeah, I mean, he was just waiting on this moment. He's a good kicker. You know, we changed deep snappers, you know, about 4 or 5 games. That messes with him, and, you know, he's starting to get in a rhythm. But this will give him great confidence moving forward. He's a great kicker, and he's very talented. So, you know, moments like this will help him moving forward.
Take a few more.
So I don't think anyone in the country expected this game to be such a high-scoring game, the highest scored ever. So you talked a lot about the crowd, but is there something else that just really, you know, your defense did their job like always, but was there just something that maybe your offense kind of flipped the switch on, or just said, you know what, hey, we've got to do this tonight?
We just talked about, you know, it's about us as a team. It's not an offense. It's not a defense. It's not a special team. Let's go in as one. Let's play as one. And there's going to be a lot of ups and downs in the game. That's the way let's not flinch. Let's not flinch. Let's get the game in the fourth quarter, find a way to win, and we're going to make those 1 or 2 plays that we've just been that close. And tonight we did that. And on the sideline, you know, there was a lot of ups and downs. There wasn't anybody, oh, God, I mean, we just hung in there. And that's what you got to do against a big-time team, and we did that.
What you going to do tonight?
Are we going to Waffle House? Yeah, it's going to be a ham and cheese omelet, scattered, smothered, covered in chunk. I'm going to get some extra bacon. I'm going to get an extra waffle, too. So that's going to be the order, so go ahead and have it ready, man.
Coach, to win this game and honoring Pat Dye with the first Iron Bowl game on the Plains 3 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, the '89 team, I mean, they made this happen. I showed our team about a 5-minute video of the '89 game and just everything that led up to it and how we got the game here, how Coach Dye, and the others got the game here and then winning, and Coach Dye in the locker room. And, so that was real special. And we told our team, let's honor that group too. And so we did that. Tim Cook was here as our honorary coach again for the second time, did a super job, speaking to our team and led the fight song for, the last 2 times we beat them here. It was just a real special moment. We have a lot of our former players here. Just real happy for them to enjoy this moment.
Coach, what do you think Rob Bramlett's doing tonight?
Rob Bramlett's smiling. He's smiling down, and we definitely miss him. And especially a game like this with so many great memories. But I'm going to bet he's smiling.
All right, Coach. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can sense the joy and how much this game means to this Auburn fan base and this Auburn team. I want to go back to one player Gus talked about in the very beginning. There was an unsung hero in the game for Auburn tonight. It was Anders Carlson. He's 4 for 4 on field goals, and these are not just chip shot field goals. Oh, we didn't score a touchdown. We're talking about 50, 45, 44 yards. That's the difference when you want to score points in a game like this.
Yeah, and Gus even mentioned it. He actually made the decision to take one of the field goals off the board when Alabama was penalized there on 4th down on the field goal attempt. He makes the kick. Gus says, you know what, let's try to go back there and score more points. They do not, they're not able to pick up another first down. He drains another one, and that's what it is. You look down the list of statistics. Bama on kicks, 7 of 8. Auburn on kicks, 8 of 8. And that really was the difference in the football game. And really, for the last 10 years, when you look at Nick Saban against Gus Malzahn, or 8 years or whatever it is, that's been the football game. That's been a lot of the differences in these Iron Bowl games. Those field goal kickers, Anders Carlson, just another late great one there in the Auburn football team.
There's another reason why Gus trusts his kickers. It has everything to do with their defense and how great they were against Alabama in the second half down the stretch. And Marlon Davidson was the heart and soul on that defensive line. Here he is with Simone Eli.
Marlon, how good does this feel right now?
It felt amazing. You don't see all these people. You don't see these people. We finna roll Tuma quarter tonight, baby. We gonna roll Tumas.
What can you say about this defense and what they did today?
We never stop fighting. We never stop fighting. It's a dog here. We dog. We supposed to be there, but it's not. They gonna feel us though. They gonna feel us.
Boy, they cannot get to Toomer's corner fast enough for the Auburn football team. Mac Jones made good plays in this game. This was not one of them early on.
Yeah, really, he had 2 interceptions that were pick 6, but this was the bad one definitely right there. A little bit of overthrow, just a little bit of miscommunication with the wide receiver, and there you have it. Smoke Monday takes it to the house.
Auburn's got the lead, 17-10, but you got to give credit to Mac. After Jalen Waddle had a kick return for a touchdown, what a strike to Henry Ruggs.
Yeah, and he had pressure in his face all night long. Give credit to the Auburn defensive line, but here he just kind of peeks over that coverage, gets it to Henry Ruggs. Great communication at that point between Mac Jones and the wide receivers.
So 2 straight scores for Bama. They have the lead, but back comes Bo Nix, and Sal Cannella came out of nowhere.
Yeah, these were really an incredible string of plays there along the sideline. Auburn's players have been making these kind of plays all year long from Bo Nix. Drags the toe. Huge blow to that Alabama defense.
It was 30-27 at the half. Second half, Mac Jones to Jalen Waddle. This made it 31-24. That edge is so quick. Look at this.
How many times do we talk about in pregame the yards after the catch? And Gus Malzahn talked about how special Jalen Waddle is. Really just an incredible football player in all facets of the game. But there you see him. Really, he has an extra gear that you don't see much in college football.
Now, I know that kick at the end was the play of the game. But, Mike, this was it for Alabama
This
fans.
one hurt right here. Once it bounced off Najee's back, Mac Jones couldn't quite get Najee to turn his head around fast enough. Kind of an ill-advised throw, just trying to go out there and make a play. But once that ball was caught by the Auburn defense, nobody between him and the end zone.
That right there is a 14-point swing, folks, and Mac, 2 times in a row, instead of folding, he goes right back to the man that made the game for him.
Yeah, really, I mean, just an incredible series of throws right here, and these are timing throws. This is not like Mac sees that Jalen Waddle's open, a timing throw to that front pylon in the end zone. Jalen's there to grab it.
Alabama takes the lead right back, 38-37. This was big for Auburn. 3rd down, what are they going to do? What a play call to Sean Shivers.
Yeah, great play call right here. And once he gets going downhill, Xavier McKinney, there's really nothing he can do in the hole there. Tries to make a tackle. Helmet pops off. Just an explosive player.
So that ends up being the final point of the game. It was 48-45, and here is the end, how it happened. 30-yarder for Bulvis, goes off the left upright. Now, Alabama, the game is not over yet, folks. We haven't shown you this yet. They can get the ball back after a 3-and-out. They had 2 timeouts, and they get down to a 4th down, and again, the 13th and final penalty of the game. is what doomed them in. They have a guy go off sides, and Nick Saban is beside himself.
Yeah, he's absolutely beside himself, and I don't want to be in that coaches meeting if I'm part of the assistant coaches, and just a debacle here at the end.
And you see they're really trying to get back on the field in confusion. What is going through the defense's mind right now?
Well, right now, and Gus Malzahn talked about this in his post-game presser, the punter is lined up at slot wide receiver, and they do that on purpose to see if they can keep Jalen Waddle on the field. The Alabama defense substitution gets the entire defense back on the field. One guy they forgot about, Jalen Waddle, who's 40 or 50 yards down the field. They forgot to tell him to get off. He tries to spin it in the last second, but it's too late. They've already called a penalty.
Gus Malzahn knows the game's over. Nick Saban knows the game is over, and that did Alabama in. Again, the 13th and final penalty was the fitting one. It does not let the Tide get the ball back. 48-45. We have so much more to get to here on College Football Saturday, including Nick Saban's full press conference coming up right after this break.
You're watching CBS 42 College Football Saturday postgame, presented by Pepsi.
All right, we've seen Auburn win this game fair and square, but if you're an Alabama fan, you are thinking about what could have been just because Auburn did win by 3 points, Mike. Now, this was a huge break for Auburn. Just the fact that they get to go down the field. The clock should have ran out, but the stoppage and looking at the replay gave them another play.
Yeah, it's like a glitch in the rules, but give them credit. They took advantage of it. They knew the rules. They knew the situation. They were able to get the field goal off after the play there. You got to give them credit. Now, I know Alabama fans look at it and say, this ain't fair. There's a glitch in the rules. But you know what? You have to be able to take advantage of those things, and Gus Malzahn and company did.
Any team who's truly a champion, and in the past Alabama has shown that they're champions, they're not going to look at that one play and say it cost us the ball game, because you could probably go look at about 17 other plays that would have made a difference for Alabama in the game.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. And Nick Saban's big thing, and I know most football coaches are like that. Nick Saban always says it's not about them, it's about us. And really today it truly was. You knew that Mac Jones had to go out and play a mistake-free football game, could not turn the ball over. 2 pick sixes. You had to make all your field goals. You missed one of them. The penalties, 13 penalties for Alabama, many of them along that offensive line, some very, very costly penalties, especially there at the end of the game. So you can't harp on what they were able to do. You have to kind of look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, these are some things we've struggled with all year.
We just saw the Crimson Tide bus go by the street there on Donahue a few minutes ago, and I said, this is uncharted territory for the Crimson Tide right now. The last time they had multiple losses in one season, in the regular season, 2010. They're not going to the playoff. They got to settle for another bowl game, New Year's 6. Nick Saban knows that, and he also has to address the media afterwards.
What did you think about the way Mac Jones played today?
I thought Mac played, really well. I mean, we had 550 yards of offense. I thought the offensive line did a great job of blocking. We had great balance. We were able to run the ball effectively in the game and threw it and made some big plays. And we struggled in the red zone a bit. And I think, that was the difference in the game. But the 2 picks for touchdowns, I mean, those are the kind of plays that you never want to happen, and I'm sure Mac wishes he had those back. But he was actually pressured pretty good on the one down on the goal line and had to get rid of the ball. So, but I thought overall he did a really, really good job in the game.
Let's talk about Jalen Waddle and the performance he had today, returning kicks and making touchdowns.
Well, we wanted to do the return that he scored a touchdown on. The plan was to do the boundary return once and then do the field return the next one. We did the boundary return a second time. It got blowed up. So then the third one we did the field return and he broke it. And he's a dynamic returner. He's got great speed. Reads the blocks well, understands, how to hit these things so that you can make big plays. And that was obviously a big play in the game.
Nick, for those of us that don't know the nuances of special team substitution rules, you said it was a highly unusual circumstance on the play where you got the substitution with a minute left. Can you just walk us through a little bit of that, why it was so unusual?
Well, when somebody puts the punter in, you usually put the punt return team in. Okay? So the punter came in, but he came in and played wide receiver. Okay? So as soon as we see the guy going on the field, we put the punt return team in. So, but then they were just staying in a formation, I think probably, just to let the clock run down and probably call timeout or take a penalty to get as much time off the clock as possible. But then when we saw the quarterback was behind center, which they can quick kick as well, which they did earlier in the game. We tried to put the defense back on, and we didn't have any problem subbing anybody, but Watto was deep. He was a little late getting off. We were trying to get his attention to get him off, and he didn't get off fast enough, so he was the 12th guy that they penalized us for. But they did sub, so they should give us time to sub in those situations, and whether they did or didn't, I mean, it's not my call.
How different was the offense game plan today?
I'm sorry?
How did you adjust the offense today?
I don't think a lot. I think that we're not going to put the game on Mac in terms of just throwing the ball all over the yard. And we wanted to have balance in the offense. I think Sark did a great job of that. So we moved the ball well enough on offense to win the game. Obviously, you can't give the other team 14 points. That's a problem. But we didn't make the plays when we needed to make them. In the last drive, we got the ball down there and get a penalty. So instead of being 1st and 9 at the 9, we're back at the 15-yard line, and now it's more difficult. And then we missed the field goal, so to tie the game.
For the first time in a long time now, you're not probably going to be playing for a national championship. How do you adjust the goals going forward?
Well, I think the lesson to be learned here today is some of the things that I talked about, how important it is to be a disciplined team, how important it is to be accountable and people do their job. Or we don't snap the ball when we're supposed to, so we get 5 false starts. All those things to me are things that we need to have more discipline so that we can execute those. And I'm not criticizing anyone. I'm basically making the point that these are lessons to be learned. And when you play against good teams, that's when those things bite you, because now you got more to overcome than, when you play somebody that's not as good as you and you just beat them because you're better than them, those things don't matter as much.
Auburn offense had consistently had trouble moving the ball against good teams. Did they do anything different tonight, or was this lack of execution on your defense?
We didn't play the run very well, obviously, and to be honest with you, I kept asking the question, is why are they spitting that run? And based on the defense that we called and the defense we were in, I thought we should be good. Quarterback pulled the ball, down and scored a touchdown when the guy that had the quarterback didn't take him. All right, so it was a combination that I can't really put my finger on right now relative to the execution, but somebody wasn't in their gap. Somebody didn't do their responsibility. We gave up a big play right before the half, I thought, Patrick did a good job, and he's done a good job for us all year, and just got beat. We're playing man-to-man, and he got beat. So, but you got to be able to stop the run better, create situations where you make them throw it so you have more chances to make plays on 3rd down.
What do you say to Joseph after a play like that? I mean, obviously trying to make the kick. I mean, when he goes through something like that?
Well, I don't think anybody feels any worse than Joe does about missing the kick. I mean, he works hard. He's a very conscientious guy. He's done a great job for us this year and taken over. Nobody feels worse than him. And we all feel bad, and we all should. I should feel bad that we didn't do a better job with our team. And, the players, it's okay for them to feel bad too, all right, because we didn't play as well as I hoped that we would. And Joe's play is just one play. One play doesn't win or lose the game. There were a lot of other plays in the game that put us in the situation that we were in. So, and I know nobody feels worse about it than Joe. He's, a great young man.
All right, Coach. Thank you.
All right, thank you all.
Guys, we're going to clear out of here.
Well, Nick Saban's referencing all those plays, the one at the end that lost them the game, the penalty, and so many penalties before that crippled their chances, Mike. Saban has a different opinion, it seems like, on all of them. What's your take on all that?
Well, I think obviously the crowd noise played a huge factor in terms of the offensive line, the communication for them. And we talked about it earlier in the show. Landon Dickerson and Jedrick Wills almost looked like they were about to come to blows at one point. But then you do look at the substitution infraction things, and you have to give Gus Malzahn credit. And I think Nick Saban, in a roundabout way, that's kind of what he was doing, saying, hey, listen, they quick snapped us earlier in the game, and they kind of quick punted with the quarterback, and they had us set up to try to keep Jalen Waddle off the field. Now, he did say, I don't know if they gave us enough time for defensive substitutions, but give them credit. I mean, give Auburn credit. This is a situation they had practice for, and they caught Alabama in a difficult spot. It wasn't just one penalty. It wasn't just one player. It was 13. That doesn't happen by accident. There was a lot of factors that went into that, and Nick Saban said, we've been getting these things all year, and it finally comes to bite you in the butt when you're playing a team like Auburn.
Man, that crowd was the difference for sure. It was absolutely ridiculously loud out there for Alabama, and after the game was bonkers. Simone Eli and Drew Carter are there right now. Guys, I've seen your Twitter feeds the last 20 minutes. There was a little fun going on down there, wasn't there?
Yeah, Chris, today, a bad day for me to wear a suit because I was stuck in the middle of about 1,000 fans on the field, and it was absolutely insane. Simone, you saw a guy break his ankle jumping over the hedges. There was so much crazy stuff after the game, and we thought that some craziness would happen during this game, and it certainly carried over afterward.
I was not on the field back in 2017, but I was in 2013. That's the only way I can describe the atmosphere tonight to compare it to. It was just unbelievable. Again, a broken ankle from a guy. The shrubs are absolutely destroyed. People all over the field. I almost missed Gus's post-game press conference.
Yeah, and then we were trying to find Ron, our cameraman. They were playing Dixieland Delight here at Jordan-Hare Stadium after beating Alabama. That is audacious, I'm going to say, from Auburn. But going back to the actual game, I think Gus Malzahn said it best. This is the best atmosphere in college football, according to Auburn fans. They backed it up tonight because they were a huge difference.
Yes, they really did. I spoke with Big Cat Bryant after the game on the field. You could feel the energy from the fans around him, from himself. This defense gave up a lot of points, but at the end of the day, they got it done. Auburn wins the game. Big Cat, how much does this win mean to this program right now?
Man, this win means everything, man. We work 365 days just for games just like this. And just to win this, it means a lot. Words can't explain.
You guys talk about that stupid D. What can you say about the defense today?
We stupid. That's what we do. Hey, we work every day hard, just like we do the couple fours that we do today. Yeah.
Regardless of what the record is, what's going on in these two teams' seasons coming into this game, the outcome of this game matters to both Alabama and Auburn. They worked 365, like Big Cat just said, 365 all year to win this game. The Tigers get it done. They celebrated and they deserved it.
And Auburn came in with nothing to lose. Alabama came in with everything to lose, and the Tigers took those tied playoff hopes and they just threw them right in the garbage here at Jordan-Hare Stadium, and it's got to feel great for Auburn. Plenty more to come as we wrap things up here from Jordan-Hare Stadium. UAB in action today. Could they win the Conference USA West and punch another ticket to the championship game? We'll show you coming up next.
You're watching CBS 42 College Football Saturday postgame, presented by Pepsi.
All right, while a conference title could not be won at Jordan-Hare Stadium tonight, it could be for UAB and Conference USA. There you see a three-way tie going into today, 5-2, three teams, them, Louisiana Tech, and Southern Miss. There are ridiculous tiebreakers, but there was one way UAB could easily win the conference. It was this. You beat North Texas on the road today. You've got the tiebreaker over Louisiana Tech as you beat them last week, and then you would need Southern Miss to lose. So how would it play out? Let's go to the UAB game first at North Texas. Mike, they're playing without their quarterback, Tyler Johnson, but you never know it.
Yeah, you go without Tyler Johnson at quarterback. What do? You go to the backup quarterback and you go to the run game. Spencer Brown with 111 yards on the ground. Great job by the offensive line all night.
And it may not even matter when you get a couple of turnovers, and this pick six really sparked UAB late in the game. Spencer Brown, like you say, over 100 yards rushing. UAB, okay, step number one, they get the victory on the road 26-21. Now, what about Southern Miss? They can avoid a tiebreaker if Lane Kiffin can come through and make plays. And oh, by the way, FAU needed to win this game against Southern Miss just to win the East, so they were motivated.
You got to give Lane Kiffin credit. I mean, where does the guy keep coming from? His name's going to be in the ring for a bunch of different jobs throughout the country. He has Florida Atlantic rolling right now.
So does everybody remember when UAB lost badly to Western Kentucky? They lost badly to Southern Miss. Guess what, folks? None of that stuff matters anymore because Southern Miss goes on the road and they lose 34-17. That means, do your math, get your abacus out, your calculator. The Blazers going back to the Conference USA Championship 2 years in a row, and guess who they're going to play?
Florida Atlantic and Lane Kiffin. Just as quick as you were cheering for Lane Kiffin and Florida Atlantic, now you're cheering against them. You got to go play them down in their house.
That game, yeah, I was going to say, will be at FAU. That's going to be a disaster for UAB maybe because they haven't been that great on the road minus that victory today. What about Bill Clark and the job he's done? Yeah. He got so many people wanting him to maybe take a job last year. He didn't do it. Give him kudos for that. And now a team that lost so many seniors, it did not matter.
Yeah, it really didn't. And Bill Clark has been incredible for really the last couple of years. And you talk about the job he's done with that UAB program. And here we are talking about, Lane Kiffin and his name being in the ring for a bunch of these jobs. Bill Clark's going to get just as much love and should get maybe even more than Lane Kiffin's going to get. Obviously, Lane Kiffin, an incredible play caller. Bill Clark, overall as a head coach, really knows how to run a football program.
UAB wants to keep him. That is one fact we can tell you without a shadow of a doubt. All right, coming up here on College Football Saturday, we're going to hear from both Auburn and Alabama players after this game. While Toomer's Corner continues to roll on, we are rolling on the postgame show.
You're watching CBS 42 College Football Saturday postgame, presented by Pepsi.
Well, this had to have been gut-wrenching for Tua Tagovailoa to watch. His team did put up 48 points, but all he could do was look on from the sidelines and see his team fall to their biggest rival. He talked with CBS's Jamie Yurdahl.
How are you feeling after your surgery?
Yeah, well, I'm feeling good. It's a lot better than it was last week, But I can't stress enough, how appreciative me and my family are for the amount of love and support that we've been getting from, the fans and just, people worldwide. I also want to thank the doctors. They've done a tremendous job in helping me.
Speaking of those doctors, what have they told you about your prognosis moving forward?
Yeah, well, it's no weight bearing for about 6 weeks, and that's kind of all they told me. They don't want to tell me anything else because then I'm gonna start thinking things. So it's no weight bearing for 6 weeks, and whatever they got me doing after the 6 week mark, then that's what I'll be doing.
Mike, you've been injured. You know what it's like to have to watch everybody else play except for you. What's Tua going through right now?
Well, I think he was really excited for Mac Jones and some of the throws he made tonight. I know he wanted to will his team to victory, but in the end, this game was Tua-less, and it kind of lacked that punch. Tua was the best player in the country possibly before he got injured, and you could tell that Alabama missed him at times, and I don't think they lost because Tua was out, per se, but I think that obviously his absence really had a hard time on this football team.
If you would have told me Alabama scores 48 points against Auburn, you would have thought it was just fine without Tua Tagovailoa. Simone Eli's back there on the field at Jordan-Hare. Not having Tua was not a big deal, and there was a big reason for that, Simone.
Yeah, Brees, you're right. Coming into this game, we said all along, don't make Mac Jones win it. There has to be guys around him that can get it done. Well, that guy was very much Najee Harris in the first half. He used the ground game. He was incredible against a very, very good Auburn front seven. We wondered, could he get it done? And he did. He had some major explosive runs, 27 carries, 146 yards on the day. That touchdown where he leaped over guys and into the end zone. Grown man runs is what I would call it. He was very consistent throughout the game, had over 90 yards in the first half. At the end of the day, though, not enough for Alabama to get the win. And we spoke with Xavier McKinney in the locker room after the game.
Discipline. That's where it comes from. Did you sense that coming, whether it was during the week or pre-game?
We had it all year, so it shows up every time we play a good team. So that's on us.
So a disappointed Bama locker room. On the other side, a very celebratory Auburn locker room, including freshman Bo Nix. His first ever Iron Bowl gets a big win. We'll have more from Nix coming up in the postgame show. Stay with us.
You're watching CBS 42 College Football Saturday postgame, presented by Pepsi.
Wrapping things up from Auburn's 48-45 Iron Bowl win tonight at Jordan-Hare Stadium, and Bo Nix quarterbacking the Tigers in his first ever Iron Bowl. We know all about the fact that his dad Patrick was a starter for these Tigers back in the 90s, and so Bo has been preparing for this moment for his entire life. He was really phenomenal. It's taken him some time to get going in some of these games against strong opponents earlier this year. Think about that first game against Oregon where he struggled for the entire game, completed less than 50% of his passes, but then made the one when it counted at the end. Tonight, Bo was pretty much good from the jump as he beats Alabama tonight 48-45, and both quarterbacks were good in this shootout type game. But when Bo converted on that two-point conversion down the stretch to make it a 48-45 game, you saw him actually chirping at the Alabama sideline a little bit. Not sure if he was looking at Nick Saban or whoever it was, but Bo Nix played with moxie tonight, and that's exactly what Auburn fans were looking for from the freshman quarterback.
I mean, obviously it's huge. I think it's really important for Auburn, obviously recruiting, and it's really important for us. I think that going into the game, we had a lot of we had a lot to prove. We really did. We lost 3 tough games, and we battled, and it shows a lot for our team and how our coaches kept us in the season, didn't let us split apart, and as a group, we became a unit, and we stayed as a unit throughout the season.
Final numbers for Nix tonight through the air: 15 of 30, 173 yards and a touchdown. He also scored on the ground. So the final numbers, again, not going to blow you away. But the only stat that he cares about and that Auburn fans care about tonight is a win over Alabama in the Iron Bowl. Going to take a short break here on our post-game show. When we return, we wrap up all the action from rivalry week across the nation. Lots of interesting scores. We'll show them to you when we come back.
You're watching CBS 42 College Football Saturday postgame, presented by Pepsi.
That's something we practice so much. We call it whistle kick, and man, we're ready for it, and I'm glad we got a chance. So.
Well, there's your answer from Anders Carlson, how that kick went down at the end of the half. It ended up technically being the difference for the Auburn Tigers. How about other rivalry games across college football? They call it the game up north, maybe similar to the Iron Bowl with Alabama and Auburn. Michigan has been woeful against Ohio State, Mike. They've lost 14 out of 15. It was supposed to be their time to shine, especially with getting an early start.
You want to talk about lopsided games, and I was cheering for Michigan all the way through in this one. I thought they were going to be able to keep it close longer than they did. Got to give them credit. They came out on fire.
You may be thinking about Justin Fields as the one guy that Michigan just could not stop. They forgot to look at the running back, J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins has been great this year. And you mentioned Justin Fields. Justin Fields has been nothing short of incredible. Hard to stop that two-headed punch for Ohio State.
He almost beat him by himself. 211 yards for Dobbins, 4 touchdowns, and then Fields had the other 4 touchdowns. Ohio State scored 8 total touchdowns. Those 2 combined for all 8 of them. Final score, 56-27. That means Ohio State looking really good, of course, to be number 1 in the playoff again over LSU next week. Clemson and South Carolina. We saw 2 months ago now, South Carolina had the upset over Georgia. Could it really happen again today against Clemson? I'd say Dabo Swinney shut that down really quick.
Yeah, Dabo Swinney had a lot to say after the game about what Clemson is and what they should be going into this playoff. But what you can't refute is how good Trevor Lawrence has looked towards the end of this season. South Carolina had no match for him today.
Remember when everybody was dogging Trevor Lawrence? Well, he didn't have to do much today. 205 yards passing. He actually was the team's leading rusher with 66 yards. He had a couple of touchdown passes. And this one was over early. 38-3, Clemson will play Virginia in the ACC title game next week. How about the Georgia Bulldogs? They're already in the SEC championship game against LSU. They want to pummel their rival, and I think Kirby and Jake Fromm are ready.
It blows my mind what Kirby Smart is and the way he's constructed this football team. It really does look like the Alabama football teams from early on in Nick Saban's tenure. That offensive line up front, you knew that Georgia Tech coming in today had to create some kind of turnovers. They could do nothing like that. They just got pummeled from beginning to end.
Jake Fromm got to be feeling good about himself leading into that LSU game next week. Final score here, 52-7, and it may not even have been that close. Wisconsin and Minnesota in the Big Ten West. Who's going to play Ohio State for that conference title game? Row the Boat had the edge, especially up top with the quarterback.
Yeah, that was a heck of a throw right there, and you thought early that Minnesota was going to be able to make this into a slugfest. They probably didn't want a slugfest with Wisconsin, though, because Wisconsin's been in a lot more of these games than Minnesota has.
Why does Mike Johnson love Wisconsin so much? They are ground and pound. They are play action. They are over the top just like that. And Jake Cohn actually won the game for Wisconsin with his arm.
Yeah, Jake Cohn looked really good today. When you look at the Wisconsin, you're right. I love it because it's ground and pound. You look at the snow right there. This is old school football. It's really what I wish Bama still did a lot more of.
Wisconsin wins the West. They'll play Ohio State next week, 38-17, the final there. How about in the Big 12? Baylor and Oklahoma are going to play in that conference title next week. That means Baylor cannot get caught looking ahead against Les Miles, and it didn't happen.
Yeah, listen, you can probably afford to look ahead a little bit when you play the Kansas Jayhawks. Let's be honest. As good as Baylor has been this year, Kansas was no match for the speed that Baylor was putting out on the field today.
Mike, I was trying to get the fans to not overlook your current opponent and look to Oklahoma and Jalen Hurts next week. But, yeah, you're right. 61-6. Baylor gets the victory. Another fun conference title game next week. We have a lot of playoff implications going on next week. And with Alabama not out of the race right now, what does that mean for the rest of these teams who are vying for the 4th spot? We'll be right back.
You're watching CBS 42 College Football Saturday postgame, presented by Pepsi.
All right, after tonight, you got to think that the playoff scenario going to be a little bit different with Alabama now out of it. That means Georgia, Utah, Oklahoma. Who is going to have that 4th spot in the college football playoff? First of all, we can't make assumptions that Georgia's going to lose to LSU. It could be a big game and a good game, but looking at teams like Oklahoma and Utah, to me, it seems like those are the only two who now have a chance to be in the playoff outside of Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, I think they definitely do. You got to include probably Baylor in that mix. Baylor's going to get their,
I'm sorry, I was disrespecting Baylor.
Yeah, don't disrespect Baylor. Come on, man. They're still going to get their shot at Oklahoma, which, by the way, they should have beat Oklahoma the first time around. So you got to include Baylor in the mix there as well. There's still a lot to be left decided in these conference title games. When you look at the Pac-12 and you look at the Big Ten, but as it sits right now, you're right. You look at a Utah and Oklahoma, and they're probably breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief that Bama did take the loss today. I think they feel a lot better about their chances headed into next weekend.
Everybody loves chaos, right? Let's say Georgia loses 2-loss, Oklahoma loses 2-loss, Utah loses 2-loss. Who's going to be in the college football playoffs? Somebody's going to have 2 losses again. If Baylor, actually Baylor would have 1 loss, so they actually would be the conference champion, and they should go. Shame on me, those Baylor Bears. All right, coming up on our post-game show, 2 interceptions for touchdowns for Auburn. Basically locked this game up for them at home. Drew Carter is going to talk to those defensive stars coming up next on the post-game show.
You're watching CBS 42 College Football Saturday postgame, presented by Pepsi.
Well, you want to have fun at Toomer's Corner tonight. You can thank the offense for scoring enough points, and you can thank the defense for bearing down the Auburn Tigers did late in that game when it mattered the most. And you know, Mike, these stats for Auburn may not be the best ever, but they get it done when it matters. Call them clutch.
Yeah, listen, Gus Malzahn said in the postgame presser, big-time players step up in big-time situations and big-time games. That's exactly what happened tonight. When the plays needed to be made, this Auburn defense was there to make it. You got to give credit to their front seven and to that secondary.
2 moments stand out for this Auburn defense for sure. Interception number 1 scored points in the first half, and then interception number 2 was a 14-point swing. Drew Carter on the field going to relive those memories with these Auburn Tigers one more time.
Hey, Chris, one of the most iconic moments in Iron Bowl history, 2013, the kick six. But you might as well call 2019 the pick six game because it happened twice for Auburn. Alabama moved the ball with ease with Mac Jones, their inexperienced quarterback, and they put up 45 points, but it might have been even more, and Auburn certainly wouldn't have scored as much with huge plays made by a couple guys on that Tigers defense. Smoke Monday with a pick six, his first interception of the season, and then Jacoby McClain going nearly the entire distance of the field on his first career interception. And Jeremiah Denton, another guy in that secondary, talked about how important those plays were.
You know, I beat Bama twice. You know, my span here, 2017, you know, I was going buck crazy. But, you know, this one, you know, I just sat there, you know, just soak in the moment. I cried a little bit, you know, shed a few tears because, man, it's crazy, you know. This the one I wanted. You know, I've been ready for this game a long time. Just think about it a whole year. And, man, we got the win, and I'm just so happy.
Thinking about it the whole year, a common theme from Auburn players in the locker room after they win this one, and the Tigers beat the Tide 48-45, thanks in large part to those 2 pick sixes. Chris, back to you.
So the regular season is over, bowl games next, and all Mike and I can do is argue about which loser of LSU and Ohio State in a conference title would make the playoff.
It's LSU.
I say Ohio State.
It's LSU. Let's be honest here. I'm an SEC homer maybe, but listen, it's LSU.
It's a lot of fun on college football Saturday. That's why we love the game. The SEC Championship, Georgia and your boys LSU going to be on CBS 42 next week as Toomer's Corner may not stop partying anytime soon. We'll see you on the wrap-up show at 10:30 tonight.